Right, strap yourselves in because we are diving deep into Bitcoin price predictions for 2025.
Oh, yeah, exciting stuff.
Bitcoin is currently sitting at a cool $95,000.
I know, it's crazy.
Up over 130% since the beginning of the year.
Absolutely.
So everyone wants to know, where is this crypto rocket headed?
Yeah, where is it going?
I mean, predictions are all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
From a modest $120,000 to a mind-blowing $13 million.
Yeah, just imagine if it hits $13 million.
I can't even fathom it.
Talk about life-changing.
Yeah.
But these predictions aren't just, random guesses. They're based on, a complex interplay of factors.
For sure.
Like so many things.
So let's try to break it down, starting with some of the short-term forecasts.
Okay, sounds good.
Mark Yusko, for example.
Okay.
He predicts Bitcoin will hit somewhere between $120,000 and $150,000.
Okay.
By mid-2025.
All right.
Basing this on, the idea that Bitcoin's fair market value is around $100,000.
Yeah.
And the potential for one of those, legendary Bitcoin parabolic surges.
Yeah. We've seen them in the past.
We've seen it.
Those parabolic surges are incredible.
But then he also acknowledges the very high likelihood of a market correction.
Oh, for sure.
After such a steep climb.
Absolutely. It never goes straight up.
It's going to go up, and then it's going to correct.
Right. And that's where people get caught,
Yeah.
holding the bag sometimes.
Totally. And it's really important, I think, to remember that Bitcoin,
Yeah.
it's not a smooth upward trajectory.
Not at all.
I mean, we've witnessed these boom and bust cycles
Yeah.
repeatedly in the past.
Totally. I mean, you just look at what happened in 2021.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a wild ride.
That's a great point, though, because I think it's really easy
Yeah.
to get swept up in the hype and the excitement.
Oh, for sure.
But remembering those cycles is key
Totally.
to making informed decisions.
Yeah. You don't want to FOMO into this thing.
Exactly.
You're going to be smart about it.
So we've got Yusko's somewhat, conservative
Yeah.
take. Now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
Tim Draper throws out a wildly bullish prediction of $250,000
Wow.
by the end of 2025.
Big difference.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So his prediction hinges on a couple of major assumptions.
Okay.
First, he believes we'll see a significant surge in global Bitcoin adoption.
Okay, that makes sense.
The second one is a big one.
All right, I'm listening.
He anticipates a shift in U.S. government policy.
Interesting.
Potentially involving, the inclusion of Bitcoin in their reserves.
Wow. Okay.
The U.S. government holding Bitcoin?
That would be huge.
That would be a game changer, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I could already see the headlines,
Bitcoin goes mainstream.
Bitcoin goes mainstream.
The U.S. adopts it.
As a reserve asset.
It would definitely send shockwaves through the financial world.
Right.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, and it speaks to the growing acceptance of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
As a legitimate asset class.
Totally.
Moving beyond its early reputation as
Right.
purely speculative investment. So we've got these two contrasting short-term predictions.
Yeah.
One cautious,
Yeah.
one exuberant.
On the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
Totally.
Now let's zoom out a little bit to the midterm outlooks.
Okay.
Sources like Bitwise and Standard Chartered
Okay. Yeah.
kind of converge around the $200,000 mark.
Interesting.
What's fascinating about Bitwise's analysis
Yeah.
is they have a scenario where Bitcoin potentially skyrockets to $500,000
Wow. $500,000.
if the U.S. decides to implement a strategic Bitcoin reserve plan.
That's a big if.
It is a big if.
But, I mean, think about the magnitude of that impact.
Right.
It's crazy.
Okay, now we're talking serious money.
Yeah.
And Bitwise isn't alone in emphasizing the role of institutional investors.
Right.
Standard Chartered, for instance, highlights the billions of dollars that have already poured into Bitcoin ETFs this year.
I mean, those ETFs have been instrumental
Totally.
in opening the floodgates for institutional money to flow into Bitcoin. And it's not just a few isolated players anymore.
Right.
We're seeing a growing number of institutions getting comfortable with the idea of adding Bitcoin to their portfolios.
All right, so we've got short-term buzz, midterm optimism,
Yeah.
and now we're heading into the uncharted territory of long-term predictions,
Ooh.
where things get truly wild.
I'm ready. Let's go.
We're talking Bitcoin valuations soaring into the millions, folks.
Okay, buckle up.
Prepare yourselves.
These long-term predictions, right, they paint this picture of
Yeah.
a future where Bitcoin, sits on the throne
Okay.
of global currencies.
Wow.
Even potentially, dethroning gold as, the ultimate store of value.
It's hard to even imagine.
It is.
What would that even look like?
I know, right?
Like a world where we're all using Bitcoin.
Right, for
everyday transactions.
Yeah, buying a house.
From buying coffee to buying a house.
Yeah, like how does that even work?
It's mind-blowing.
It's like it's a seismic shift.
Yeah.
In the global financial landscape.
Governments, businesses, individuals, all operating primarily in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it challenges everything we know about money.
It really does.
And finance.
Okay, so we've got this wide spectrum of predictions.
Yeah.
From like relatively modest gains to, scenarios that sound like something out of a sci-fi novel.
Totally.
But what are the real world forces?
Yeah.
What's actually going to move the
They're going to determine Bitcoin's trajectory.
Well, the article dives into some key factors.
Okay.
And I think one we've already touched on is institutional adoption.
Right.
Those Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
They've been a game changer.
Huge.
Making it so much easier for big investors to get
Yeah.
involved. And as more of those players, allocate funds to Bitcoin,
Right.
it's just going to drive demand,
Right.
push that price higher.
It's like a snowball effect.
Totally.
Right.
It just keeps building.
A few major institutions jump in, and then everyone else is like,
Exactly. Okay, we got to get in on this.
got to get a piece of that.
Exactly.
And then you can't forget about
the
regulatory landscape, right?
Oh, huge. Constantly evolving.
Always changing. We're seeing more and more pro-crypto
And
leaders
all over the world.
elected around the world. And that could create, a much friendlier environment for Bitcoin to grow.
Right, because, government policies
Huge.
can absolutely make or break
Oh, yeah.
Bitcoin's growth.
For sure.
Think back to when China,
Oh, yeah.
cracked down on crypto mining and trading.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Sent shockwaves through the market.
Totally.
Caused a significant price dip.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we're seeing
Right.
positive regulations, pro-crypto policies.
It can give a lot of confidence to investors.
It can boost confidence.
And bring more people in.
Absolutely. So it's this constant game of tug of war.
It really is a
Right.
constant battle.
Between governments and this decentralized force of nature.
Totally.
And then you've got,
Yeah.
your classic market forces at play.
Of course, sentiment,
Macroeconomic trends,
technological advancement.
technological advancements, all this stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
It's hard to predict.
And you can't forget about the halving events.
Oh, right.
These play such an interesting role in Bitcoin's economics.
Okay.
So these events happen approximately every 4 years.
Yeah.
They actually reduce the rate
Okay.
at which new Bitcoins are created.
Okay, hold on. Break that down for me.
Okay, sure.
What happens during a halving event?
So basically, every time a halving event happens,
Yeah.
the reward for miners who validate transactions
Right.
gets cut in half.
Okay.
This reduction in new Bitcoin creation
Yeah.
is designed to control inflation,
Okay.
ensure the scarcity of Bitcoin over time.
So fewer Bitcoins are being created,
Exactly.
but demand continues to grow.
Presumably, yeah.
So that would put upward pressure on the price.
Exactly, supply and demand, right.
Basic economics 101.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these different forces, right?
Right, pulling it in different directions.
Pulling Bitcoin in different directions.
Unpredictable.
But before we get too swept up in the excitement,
Yeah,
we need to inject a dose of reality
of course. Got to stay grounded.
and talk about the potential risks
For sure.
and challenges facing Bitcoin.
Absolutely. We have to approach this with a balanced perspective.
Yeah.
Bitcoin has been notoriously volatile,
Oh, yeah.
and those price swings can be scary,
Right.
even for seasoned investors.
For sure.
We've seen those parabolic rises followed by those sharp corrections.
Right.
It's a reminder that Bitcoin is not for the,
Yeah.
faint of heart.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
No.
It's high risk, high reward.
Totally.
You got to have a long-term perspective.
And then speaking of risks,
Yeah.
the regulatory landscape, still very much evolving,
Yeah.
adds another layer of uncertainty.
Government regulations can change on a dime.
Totally.
That can have a huge impact on Bitcoin's price.
For sure.
And adoption, we've seen countries ban crypto outright.
Yeah.
While others embrace it. It's constantly changing.
It's tough to keep up with.
It really is.
And then let's not forget about,
What else? What else?
the potential for manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's decentralized nature
Right.
makes it tough to control.
Yeah.
But it also makes it vulnerable to bad actors
Oh, for sure.
who might try to game the system.
All right. Manipulates the price.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
And that can erode trust.
Of course.
Discourage people from investing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've laid out the potential risks,
Right, all the scary stuff.
but despite all that, there's still like
Yeah.
a palpable sense of excitement
Oh, yeah.
and optimism
Big time.
surrounding Bitcoin.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to the fact that Bitcoin represents something,
Yeah.
truly revolutionary.
It's a whole new way of thinking about money.
It's a decentralized
Yeah.
digital currency.
Yeah. No central authority.
Operates independently of governments and central banks.
Totally.
And for a lot of people,
Freedom.
that's an incredibly appealing idea.
Oh, yeah.
This desire for a more
Yeah.
open, transparent, equitable financial system.
Right, that everyone can participate in.
Exactly. And despite the risks, I think that vision
Yeah.
continues to inspire and motivate people.
Totally. It's a story that's still being written.
Right.
The ending's far from certain.
Yeah.
But one thing's clear, Bitcoin has the potential
Oh, absolutely.
to reshape how we think about money and finance.
Well said.
Thank you.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
let's circle back to where we started.
Okay.
Bitcoin's currently trading at $95,000.
A lot of money.
And predictions for 2025,
Sure.
they run the gamut.
All over the place.
From a modest, relatively modest,
Yeah.
$120,000 to a staggering $13 million.
It's a huge range,
Huge range.
reflecting the uncertainty of Bitcoin's future.
But regardless of where the price ends up,
Yeah.
one thing is certain, Bitcoin is
Yeah.
a force to be reckoned with.
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay.
Yeah, it really is a question worth thinking about.
Thinking about Bitcoin's potential impact beyond just the price tag, I mean,
Right.
that's what makes this whole exploration so fascinating.
I know. It's like we're watching this financial revolution unfold.
Yeah, in real time.
Yeah. And it's not just about, how much money you can make. It's about the technology behind it,
Right.
the power dynamics, like the whole idea of what money is.
Right, it's a fundamental shift.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to look,
Yeah.
beyond just the headlines
Yeah.
and try to understand what's really going on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but, informed decisions
Yeah.
required a deeper understanding.
So for our listeners who are just starting to explore this world,
Yeah.
where do they even begin?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to do your research.
Yeah.
Educate yourself on the fundamentals.
Yeah, don't just jump in because everyone else is.
Exactly. Understand the tech, the risks, the rewards.
The potential rewards.
Right, because it is a volatile market.
Yeah,
Don't
man.
invest more than you can afford to lose.
Treat it like a high-stakes poker game,
Right.
not your retirement fund.
Exactly. Good analogy.
And speaking of risks, we got to keep an eye on
Oh, yeah.
the regulatory landscape.
Always changing.
Constantly changing. Government policies can shift quickly.
Yeah, and that could impact your investments.
Good time.
So stay informed about what's going on,
Yeah.
both locally and globally.
It's like navigating a constantly shifting maze.
It is. One wrong turn and you could get lost.
And then you can't forget about security.
Oh, yeah. Super important.
Bitcoin is a digital asset. It's vulnerable to
Absolutely.
hacking and theft.
Make sure you're using reputable exchanges and wallets.
Right.
Take the necessary precautions.
Don't want to be a victim of a crypto heist.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so we've covered, the basics here.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to those 2025 predictions.
All right.
We've got this huge range of forecasts.
Yeah.
From, a modest bump to
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
mind-blowing surge.
Right. What's your take?
Well, I think it's important to remember that
Yeah.
predictions are just that. Predictions.
Right.
They're based on analysis and assumptions.
Right.
But no one has a crystal ball.
No one knows for sure.
The future of Bitcoin is ultimately uncertain, so should we just throw our hands up and say, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
I think, while we can't predict the future with certainty,
Yeah.
we can look at trends, the factors at play,
Right.
make informed decisions.
So it's all about navigating the uncertainty,
Yeah.
assessing the risks, and making calculated bets.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds a lot like life in general.
It really does.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes Bitcoin so fascinating. It's
Yeah.
a reflection of our, changing relationship
Right.
with technology,
Yeah.
money,
It's all connected.
the whole financial system.
It's a story that's still being written.
Right. We're all characters in this drama.
And on that note, that brings us to the end
Yeah.
of our deep dive into Bitcoin price predictions for 2025.
What a journey.
We've explored a range of forecasts
Yeah.
analyze the factors driving the market,
Right.
discuss the potential risks and rewards.
It's a lot to take in.
But ultimately, the future of Bitcoin is, it's in your hands, Do your research.
Stay informed.
Stay informed and make wise decisions.
Be smart.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
On this wild ride through the world of Bitcoin.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
Keep questioning.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll all be millionaires by 2025.
Fingers crossed.